On today's episode, House Targaryen, Cardhu Gold Reserve. It's a good thing dragons are free. I'm never going to open that window again. Welcome to KillCo Whiskey Musings. My name is Brian. If you happen to have this whiskey, I hope you will join me in this tasting experience. If not, please pour one of your favorite whiskeys and enjoy the rest of the video. Please be sure to like and subscribe. And this is number 2 in our Game of Thrones
Winter's Coming
series for the month of November. The fun part about doing this video this time is I have not been to Kentucky yet. However, when this video comes out, I will have been to Kentucky and back again. Okay. And since I don't want to try and put out a video the day after I get back from a long trip, I'm doing it beforehand, so I hope you enjoy the Brian from the past. Oh, yeah. Before we even get much further, this is a 40%, much like the one from last week. Once more, it is a Scotch, and I have not had this brand before that I am aware of. Oh, a little extra, because travel makes me nervous. It's funny while doing this, as I'm remembering little bits of things that I heard about the other Game of Thrones bottles from when they first were released. And I know a lot of the kind of bluster was that a lot of the bottles weren't quite lined up to the right houses. I have a feeling this is one of them, considering it's supposed to be a dragon whiskey. And, well, let's just say I have a feeling. Here we have the color. This doesn't have an age statement, so I honestly have no idea how old it is. Onto the appearance for this color, I will say it's fairly golden. I was tempted to say straw, but it's got a little more to it than that. Clarity clear. Sediments none. Viscosity. Pretty good legs, but again, 40%. If you did see last week's video, one of the few blips that came up was that I feel that all the Game of Thrones releases were meant to be user-friendly, and I get the distinct impression this one shall be no different at 40%. So, begin nosing a technique. Oh, this is surprisingly pleasant. I'm quite pleased now. Getting a clean glass smell again. Damn it. But aside from that nuisance, there were fruit notes initially, which I'm always pleased with when I get a Scotch like this. There is a grain note. I believe I'm picking up a little bit of the malted barley. It's not that weird funk, thankfully. That's really the thing I worry about with many of my Scotches, is getting that weird malt or sherry funk. I still don't know what the heck causes it, because I've had so many like this and then so many other random ones where it's just this weird monk. I feel like I just got some apple and pear. While the fruit notes have tamed a little bit, it's more of a grain forward on the nose. Still trying to work around the freaking clean glass. I'm doing a lot of swirling. Actually has me think of applesauce. I've been trying to figure out if I'm getting a lemon zest with a little bit of pith, possibly. So is that slight bitter along with the lemon zest? Like you went too far in, you know? Well, the good thing about going over tasting note sheets so much is I can even say some in advance. There is a touch of hay on this one. If I was ready to move on, I was getting that effervescence that I've heard so much about. It's this weird soda carbonated thing. Almost Sprite-esque. I haven't had Sprite in a while, but that's what it seems like. Nosing phase 2. Intensity. Actually delicate. I'm having a lot of trouble getting much out of this one. Which is why I switched to the phase 2 so quickly. It's just like, well, that's about it. The age on this is tricky, since I'm not certain if this is a blend or not. I usually assume if I don't see an age statement it is, but I'll have to say moderate just because of the color. However, I don't even know if this place uses coloring or not, so this is all going to be fun when I hopefully find out a little more about it at the end. Barrel, used oak as Scotch, grain, malted barley. Smoke, there is no smoke. Spice. I don't know if I'm actually getting it or if I'm just convincing myself of it since I read it. But there's a very slight mint. As far as the sweet goes, I did get a bit of a cereal note. And unlike the one I did last week, there's no distinct honey nose to it. Maybe some vanilla, or I'm even leaning towards corn syrup. Because there's a sweet smell to it, but I don't know if I'd say it's vanilla. Floral? I can imagine this having a floral note. However, which kind of flower, I don't know. But I can easily imagine myself walking into some kind of greenhouse and walking past these flowers, whatever they are. For whatever reason, they seem to be yellow in my head. Probably because of the color here. And smelling something similar as I just walk by. Or maybe a giant bush. It could be a white flower that grows on some kind of large bush. I am not getting any wine notes, but as I've said numerous times, I am not privy to many wine influences. Fruit, there's apple on here. Certainly I said apple sauce. There's a little bit of lemon zest, possibly with a little pith. Maybe raspberry? So far what I'm finding is that this is the type of scotch I would enjoy because it's got a little bit of grain to it and it's got a fair amount of fruit notes as well, which I like. I just want to do this for a very, very long time. Sulfur, I'm not getting anything. And peat, just no. Earth, I was happy to say I got a little hay on this before I even read it. There could be something herbal to this. I'm leaning towards rosemary, but we are talking the faintest hint of herbal notes. There's nothing really extreme about this one at all. This is just sweet, friendly, enjoyable. So let's get to the drinking part, shall we? Dragon's Fire! Okay. As with the tasting that I try to do, I say take a sip, just drink it, don't think about it. Hard to do when you're making a video about the whole tasting experience, but we go through it. Thanks for sticking around. I'm going to fully admit that I have done all the things you should not do before you do a whiskey tasting. I had a hard cider earlier, and I was also eating some chili with some jalapenos in it, so I have a feeling my palate is just a little off kilter. And from the first sip, I can kind of tell this is a light, delicate scotch with not a lot going on. Granted, just the first sip, I'm going to have it, hold it on the tongue just now, but I'm just saying in advance, palate's a little weird. This is probably not overly complicated. We'll see. Let's not jump to conclusions here. Oh yeah, of course now I feel that. Yay. 40%, come on, leave me alone. Okay, it's kind of what I expected from this. I don't know what it is. It was either the brand or I've heard something about it maybe. This is a simple scotch, like super, super simple. Even more simple than last week. And to be clear, my preference for most whiskeys is 50% and above. So anytime I get into something that's 40%, I often wish it was 45 or at least 45, maybe a little bit above that would be more my speed, but we are in the 40% Scotch range at the moment. So let's just move on. I don't want to say it's watery. It isn't. There's something to it. The flavors, I'm just completely missing them. I don't know if it's me or the actual Scotch itself. Mostly I'm just getting a light sweetness and a little dry note. The finish lasts for a little while. I could take a huge gulp of this and it wouldn't faze me. Like the whole alcohol and the tongue thing is non-existent almost. To demonstrate my stupidity in this moment, I will prove that point. Now, first we'll see where the glass is right now. Ooh, get a little spice at least. Oh, it's better. A little bit of black pepper spice on that. And almost cinnamon. So, that works. But with this one, I had to take a big old mouthful and let it sit there for 10, 15 seconds. Oh, that felt better. That's kind of what I want. Well, a little less than this actually, but that is kind of what I like from a scotch. When it gives you a little bit of a kick. It's like, hi. But that did bring out quite a bit more to it. But again, you don't want to use your scotch as if it was mouthwash. So I'm even having difficulty trying to figure out what kind of sweet it is. I mean, I can't even go into the cream category because just the texture of it isn't right. Just chug the rest, it'll be fine. I just thought of daisy. I don't even know if daisies have much of a smell, so that was interesting. So you can feel the flowers, honeybees. Maybe there's a little honey to the taste. My brain is a very weird place, if you didn't know. Also on a spring day. So I guess this is a springtime scotch in my brain. The finish sticks. And so does the dry. It stays a little dry for a bit. We are moving on to palate phase 2 to see if this will help me out at all. I feel like this is an extremely introductory scotch. Like, this is the one. Last week I was like, hey, this is pretty introductory. No, this is the one where anyone should be able to drink this. It's almost in like Jameson Irish whiskey category where you can give that to most people and they'll enjoy it without going, oh, God. And this is kind of like that for scotch. To me, at the moment, until I learn more about it. Flavor is sweet. Proof is as low as possible. Body, light. Texture, light. Balance, does any element dominate? Not really. So I guess that's good, but that, nothing really jumps out at me for this. And again, I'm really thinking it might have been the chili I had earlier. It's been a while since I ate it, but still, I'm going to just lock onto that. I was like, oh, I did all the wrong things and I can't even taste it. What? Yep. No element dominates because there's not much in here to begin with. I hate giving... It's not negative, I'm just being honest in my experience, and I feel bad. The finish on this, I will give a 3. It does linger for a bit, but it's just kind of a dry feeling, and that's about all. Complexity. Low. It's low. And before we learn more about this whiskey, I want to read the blip on the back for the Game of Thrones people who just want to know a little more about that. House Targaryen, the only house in possession of fire-breathing dragons, has proven its resilient nature throughout history. Through fierce determination and force of will, Daenerys Targaryen walked through fire and emerged at the head of the greatest army the known world has ever seen. Under the black and red banner of House Targaryen, she marches towards the Iron Throne, and her rivals bend the knee to swear their allegiance to the Mother of Dragons. Fueled by the same fiery spirit and courage to conquer all challenges in the way, Helen Cummings and her daughter-in-law, Elizabeth, were pioneers in the male-dominated whiskey industry during the 1800s and largely responsible for the early success at Cardhu. This single malt Scotch celebrates these legendary women and their unwavering perseverance with a liquid that's rich in texture and a balance of sweet fruit, dark chocolates, toffee, and spice. Well, that was very interesting and informative. It's nice that they kind of, I guess, linked those two together. It's like, oh, strong women, strong women. They don't know enough about Daenerys Targaryen to connect her with anyone else, because she... Whew. I'm very pleased to find out about the women who did start Cardhu in the 1800s. That's pretty amazing. If you have learned anything about my channel and me, a part of how I got into whiskey was the Women of Whiskey book. It is linked down below. Again, we find ourselves at malts.com to find out more about this Scotch. Unfortunately, in this case, they do not have the Game of Thrones Targaryen bottle listed specifically, but they do actually have the Cardhu Gold Reserve listed, so that means you can probably get your hands on this fairly easily. I'm going to give you another little blip because it's different from the one around the bottle, and it's more about the whiskey, the Scotch. Okay, come on, move on. Sure, okay, let's go. Cardhu comes from one of the oldest of the Speyside distilleries, which have nestled in the foothills near the River Spey for 200 years, and the Cardhu range is an excellent representation of these Speyside whiskies. The history of Cardhu's rise to fame is to a large part told in the story of two determined women who were members of the founding family. Again, I love hearing that. Cardhu Gold Reserve is fruitier and warmer than the classic 12-year-old. Its initial sweetness is cut by crisp orange zest, followed by a subtle mineral dryness. It is a smooth, beautifully structured, and well-paced Speyside malt with a rich texture and a balance of sweet fruit, dark chocolate, toffee, and spice. It said the same thing on the back. Cardhu Gold Reserve is a great choice as a sweeter aperitif, beautifully presented in gold, luxurious packaging. Not that one. Cardhu Gold Reserve makes the perfect gift for any whiskey lover. Gift. I see something like that and I immediately, the warnings go off that this is basically a introductory Scotch. You can gift it to anyone almost. Doesn't help that they have a serving suggestion here. This is an odd one. Serve in a large balloon glass, neat or with a little water. Gold Reserve also offers up some new fruity flavors when served with ice. I imagine if you put this on ice, it would just be nothing. And finally, to their tasting notes, there's not a lot here. It's a smooth, beautifully structured, and well-paced Speyside malt with a rich texture and a balance of sweet fruits, dark chocolate, toffee. Nose, toffee, and apple notes. I'm glad they said apple. I love when I get a fruit right. Palate, fairly dry, with biscuity oak and a little cinnamon. Okay, not a lot to it, as I expected. And it does say it was kind of dry. Biscuity oak? That's... Sure. And there you have it, folks. The second in the Winter is Coming Game of Thrones Scotch that I will be doing this month. I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, live long and prosper. Don't forget to be awesome. And I will see you out there. Thank you for joining me on KillCo Whiskey Musings. You can find my social media and Patreon in the links below. Be sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.